Dinner in our house was always staged like a play. The table gleamed with polished cutlery lined like soldiers. The chandelier glowed too brightly. And my mother's roses sat in a vase so perfect it might as well have been plastic. But beneath the shine there was always something sharp in the air, an edge you could cut yourself on if you weren't careful. That night, I wasn't careful. The roast chicken steamed in the center, its golden skin glistening under the light. Anna was already halfway through her second glass of wine, swirling it with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. My father chewed methodically, eyes glued to his plate, as if avoiding eye contact could erase the tension he knew was coming. And then my mother struck. Her fork clinked against her plate, a metallic warning shot. She leaned forward, her eyes boring into mine as if my very existence offended her. "Your success means nothing," she snarled. The words, dripping with venom, spat like something rotten she wanted out of her mouth. I froze, fork suspended mid-air. She didn't stop. Her voice rose, each syllable sharper than the last. "Anna's the only daughter who matters." The silence afterward was deafening. The chandelier hummed faintly above us. Somewhere in the distance a clock ticked, each second hammering the truth deeper into my chest. My father cleared his throat but said nothing. Anna smirked, hiding it behind her wineglass as if my humiliation was her dessert. I felt heat crawl up my neck, but I forced my hands to stay steady as I set my fork down. The clink was louder than I meant, a crack in the staged perfection of the evening. My chest rose and fell once, steady, measured. I had two choices: swallow it like I always did, or spit it back. For the first time in my life, I chose the latter. "Then watch me cut you out forever." My voice didn't shake. It didn't break. It landed on the table like a blade, splitting the air in two. Mom blinked, stunned for half a second before her lips curled back into that familiar sneer. "Don't be dramatic," she hissed. "Family is family." "Family?" I laughed, the sound dry, brittle. "You've made it clear enough who your family is, and it's not me." The room seemed smaller suddenly, as though the walls were inching closer. Anna set her glass down with a smirk that screamed triumph, but I barely looked at her. My father's fork paused mid-cut, his eyes flicking up in silent pleading. The same useless look he'd given me my whole life. Don't make waves, don't upset her. Let it go. But I was done letting it go. If you had walked into that dining room, you might have thought it was just another family argument, just a sharp exchange over chicken and wine. But you would have been wrong, because that night wasn't about dinner. That night was the breaking point. That was the night everything changed. It didn't start with that dinner. It never does. The truth was planted years earlier in little moments that didn't seem important at the time, but they grew, like weeds choking out any chance of fairness. I still remember the spelling bee. I was 10, clutching a plastic trophy almost as tall as my forearm. The letters I spelled out that day still echo in my head. Diligence, perseverance, resilience. Big words for a little girl, but they were mine. I carried that trophy home like a medal of honor, hoping that maybe they'd see me for once. Mom barely looked up from her magazine. "That's nice, dear. Go wash your hands for dinner." No picture, no frame, not even a spot on the shelf. 2 weeks later, Anna came home with a painting. A crooked rainbow, watercolors bleeding into each other, paper wrinkled from too much water. By the end of the week, it was framed, hung above the fireplace like it belonged in a gallery. "Isn't she talented?" Mom cooed, brushing Anna's hair back while I stood there holding my forgotten spelling list. That's how it always was. My achievements were chores to be brushed aside. Anna's smallest scribbles were masterpieces. Birthdays, same story. When I turned 12, I unwrapped a second-hand bike. The paint was chipped, the bell dented, and the seat squeaked every time I sat down. "It still works," Dad said, clapping me on the back. Be grateful, I was. I smiled, pretended not to notice the rust on the chain, and rode it until the pedals cut grooves into my sneakers. 2 months later, Anna's 14th birthday arrived. A brand new laptop sat waiting at the table, silver and shining. Balloons bobbed in the corners, cake layered with roses in buttercream. Mom kissed her cheek and whispered, "You're going places, Anna. Don't let anyone dim your light." I was standing right there, invisible. Report cards told the same story. I brought home straight A's, lined neatly in red ink across the page. Dad grunted a quick good job without looking up from his coffee. Anna showed them a B- in art. The entire kitchen lit up like Christmas. "You're so creative," Mom gushed. Grades don't matter when you're destined for greatness. It wasn't jealousy, not exactly. It was something colder, heavier. The realization that no matter what I did, how hard I tried, how much I excelled, I would always be the shadow to Anna's sun. One night, I overheard Mom talking on the phone. She laughed, soft and proud, saying, "Anna's got that spark. She's the one who'll make us proud someday." I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the words burrowing into me like thorns. Not if, not maybe. Just Anna. Always Anna. Looking back, I see the pattern clear as day. They weren't raising two daughters. They were raising a favorite and an afterthought. And I learned early on, if I wanted recognition, it wouldn't come from them. I'd have to build it myself. High school didn't make the favoritism disappear. If anything, it magnified it. By then, I had stopped waiting for applause. I knew better. Instead, I started working. Every Saturday, while my classmates slept in, I tied on a stiff apron at the corner diner. The uniform smelled like fryer grease no matter how many times I washed it, and my feet ached after double shifts, but I didn't complain. Every crumpled dollar bill and quarter that landed in my hands was a piece of freedom. I kept the money in a shoebox under my bed. My treasure chest, my proof that I could do something on my own. For months, I counted and recounted until one night, under the flickering, fluorescent lights of Walmart, I finally bought my very first phone. Not the newest model, not sleek or shiny, but it was mine. I carried it home with pride like a trophy. I thought, just for a second, maybe Mom would notice. Maybe she'd say she was proud. Her response, a sigh. "You should have waited. Anna's due for an upgrade. We could have just passed hers down to you." The word stung, but I swallowed the hurt. Of course, hand-me-downs, that was what I was worth. Meanwhile, Anna lost her phone case one afternoon. A cracked corner. A week later, she had the newest iPhone straight out of the box, ribbon still tied on the bag. Mom fussed over her like she'd broken a bone instead of plastic. "We can't have you dealing with old junk, Anna. You deserve the best." I bit the inside of my cheek so hard I tasted iron. It wasn't just phones. It was clothes, shoes, even attention. I worked extra shifts to buy a thrift store winter coat. Navy blue, 2 sizes too big but warm enough for the walk to school. I wore it proudly until I overheard Mom whispering to Anna, "Don't worry, we'll get you something fashionable. You should stand out." Sure enough, 2 days later, Anna strutted through the door in a brand new designer jacket, the kind of coat I'd only seen in glossy magazines. At dinner, Mom beamed. "Doesn't she look like she belongs in a catalog?" I sat across from them, silently peeling the price tag sticker off my thrift store zipper, trying not to let the glue stick to my fingers. School nights. I studied at the kitchen table while Anna lounged on the couch, music blasting, phone buzzing nonstop. If I asked her to lower the volume, Mom snapped at me. "Don't stifle her creativity, Sophia. Let her breathe." So I learned to study with noise, to focus through distraction, to carve out space where none was given. I didn't realize it then, but every diner shift, every thrift store find, every ignored achievement was doing something Anna's praise never did. It was sharpening me, teaching me how to survive without applause. Anna was the sun. I was the shadow. But shadows learn to move quietly, to stretch long, to find their own shape when the light is cruel. And I was beginning to realize I didn't need their spotlight to exist.